Hi everyone, it's Mindy and welcome back. Today I'm creating a festive floral Christmas card using the Holiday Blooms stencil from Tailored Expressions. This stencil is such a beautiful way to add layered color and detail to your holiday cards, and I can't wait to share how mine came together. It's also a part of Tailored Expressions season of crafting, which means there's a 30% off sale happening until the 15th of November, but the category changes every day. So for today only, November 13th, starting at 9 a.m. Central, all stencils are 30% off for 24 hours. So it's the perfect time to grab the Holiday Blooms stencil or any others that you've had your eye on. All of the supplies I'm using today are going to be linked down below in the video description. Here's a look at the Holiday Blooms set. Now, a couple things with this that I do want to point out is there is a coordinating plate that if you wanted to die cut out everything that you stenciled, you can do that. And I'll show you how that works a little later on in the video. On the back of the packaging, it does give you an example how the stencils lay out. And all of the stencils have a marking in the bottom corner that says 1, 2, 3, and 4 to help you with the order of the stenciling. There's also foil panels if you wanted to have a piece of this with some foil on there for extra shine. So starting out, I have a piece of sugar cube cardstock cut to 6 by 6, the same size as the stencil, and I'm laying down the first layer of the stencil and then holding it down with some low tack tape. I am going to be reaching for one of my favorite color combinations. You've seen this maybe in some of my previous videos, and that is going to be starting with Papaya. So a lot of these colors may look familiar to you if you've caught my recent live that I did. I'm going to ink blend over the entire panel of the stencil using that Papaya color. Now you may notice that there are little squares on the left and right hand side. You want to make sure to ink blend them as well, as that is going to help you line up the next layers of the stencil. Plus it does help if you have that cutting plate. That is how you would line up the cutting plate. So I'm laying down the second layer of the stencil. This next color I'm coming in is Honeydew Melon. It is one of my new favorite greens from the Tailored Expressions line. Now this part of the stencil, there's only one layer for the leaves. So after I get kind of this main color down, then I'm going to come in with a Brussels sprout and a detail blending brush. And I'm going to add a little bit of dimension and contrast using that darker color. So after I pick up some of that ink, I'm just going to go maybe on one side or just down towards the bottom. Really doesn't matter where. I just wanted to have that color variation on my leaves. Using a small brush like the detail blending brush really does help kind of get into those smaller areas so the dark color doesn't consume the entire leaf. For the third layer, which again, I did line up with these squares on the left and right hand side, but I also used the previously stenciled area as a guide as well. Now this one I am doing with Cherry Pop ink. And I'm going to blend over all of those open areas once again. This is going to add in some smaller flowers in between and also some of the background leaves to create our poinsettia. I find Cherry Pop is such a great color when paired with papaya or even persimmon. The last layer of the stencil is going to add in these centers to our flowers. So I'm going to start off with Dijon, and this is going to not quite be as yellow as maybe the center would be. And you can just ink blend it this way and then leave it. But what I'm going to do is bring in some happy medium in gold glitter. Now, what I did is I took my stencil off screen, I cleaned it with some rubbing alcohol, and I'm placing it back in that same position. Then I'm going to bring in the happy medium in this gold glitter. And it's so funny because this stuff I think smells amazing. It smells very clean, like almost soap. So I do enjoy using this product. It does take a little bit longer to dry, so you do want to give this some dry time. I'm going to scoop some out of the jar and then just carefully place that over all of those open areas of the stencil. I can scrape off any excess. If the gold glitter is not contaminated, you can put it back into your jar to save for later. And then make sure that you are saving that topper that comes in the jar because that's going to help kind of preserve your gel. I'm going to set this off on the side to dry for a second, but I did do another panel without the gold glitter, and I'm going to show you how this works with the cover plate. So all you do is take that plate you matched up over the squares that you blended on, hold that down with a tape. Now I'm using teal tape, maybe the Spellbinder's Best Ever Craft tape. You just want something that's really going to hold that in place and not shift when you run it through your die cut machine. And what it does is it die cuts out every single piece out of that background. So you can either use this as a full panel like I'm going to do today, or you can use these pieces individually, and the die plate creates kind of these etched lines to give it a little bit more dimension and character. For the rest of my card, I'm going to be using the Ongoing Frames stencil. I love this because it's giving this postage kind of look going around the outer edge of my cardstock. I have a piece of white cardstock that's 4¼ by 5½. And this is just one of the frames. I think this is a 2-frame pack. And I kind of lined up, there's an etched line that fits the exact size of my cardstock. So that is what I'm lining that up with. And I ink blended that with Papaya ink. Now, as you saw on screen, all you do is lift that up, rotate it, and that's going to fill in the rest of the lines going around the edge of your cardstock. If you are going to use a different color, like maybe you want to do red and blue, you do want to make sure you clean that off screen. And I'm not going to be using quite such a different color, so I am using Cherry Pop, and I'm just going right over the top of that. Once that's all ink blended, now I have this complete border going around the edge of my card. While my panel is still drying, I'm going to go ahead and do my sentiment. I'm using the new Mini to Mighty Christmas. I'm saying new because it's fairly new. I think it was released this year, and it has Merry Christmas, Season's Greetings, and Happy Holidays, but it's in 3 different sizes. So if you are looking for something to fit your particular card project, this is going to be a great set for that. I am going to ink this up with a VersaFine Nocturne ink and stamp it down onto some white cardstock. This would be beautiful, like heat embossed on colored cardstock too. There's a die set that you can pick up separately that does die cut out each of the sentiments, so I'm picking the one that fits my large Happy Holidays. I ran that through my die cut machine, and I also die cut it out a second time using white cardstock. And I'm going to layer these together with liquid glue just to give that some stability, but I am still going to pop it up on the front of my card. After my panel was completely dry, I'm going to trim out a section of this using one of the dies from the A2 Stacklets die set, and this is going to fit perfectly into the Postage die that I had die cut out. Both of these die sets will be linked down below in the video description. Now, I was a little indecisive on what color I wanted that Postage background to be. I started with Honeydew, I did Cherry Pop, and then I ended up doing Peapod. And the reason I picked Peapod, which isn't anywhere on my card, is because once I ink blended the leaves with that Brussels sprouts and Honeydew Melon, I felt like Peapod was a really great kind of in-between color. I felt it tied into the leaves a little bit more. So that's why I went with Peapod. I'm taking my layered panel, my stenciled panel, and I'm going to attach it to that Postage panel just using a tape runner. And then I'm going to add some foam strips behind my Postage panel. And after I remove the backing, I'm going to place this right in between my stripes that are going around the edge. I think these two combined make such a great combination, and I just really love that Postage stripe. So for the sentiment, I am adding some thin foam squares, and then I can place this kind of center and up towards the top. I didn't want it dead center. I really like it more towards the top. And that finishes up my festive floral Christmas card using the Holiday Blooms stencil from Tailored Expressions. I hope you enjoyed today's inspiration and picked up a few ideas for your own holiday cards. Now, don't forget, today only, November 13th, 2025, all stencils are 30% off as part of the Tailored Expressions Season of Crafting event. That sale changes daily through November 15th, so be sure to check back each day to see what's featured next. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss more card making inspiration coming your way. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you soon with more creative holiday ideas.